Appena hanno finito loro ti chiamo, così ti introduco.
In italiano?
Meglio se lo fai in inglese, però se non te la senti lo facciamo in italiano. Come preferisci. Ok. Ok. Fine. So, before we move, let's say, to the second part of the scientific sessions with Pietro and Gianluigi, we have a session which I would say it's actually a student session. And in this session, we're going to have first what's in the program, and that is a presentation on the European MD-PhD Association members which are on the stage at the moment. So Clara, Sara, and Stefano, okay, which will tell us what this association is and what are the steps to get started and what are the concerns, I would say, for getting started with this career. And then there will be another short presentation which I decided to include in the program, which I introduce afterwards. Okay?
Good afternoon, anyone. I would like to start this presentation with a question, as we are talking about what happens after you graduate or on the last year before you graduate. What will happen if you want to go on with a physician career? So I will start with a question where I would like you to raise your hands depending on what you think the main answer is. Which percentage of MD graduates is attending a PhD when it's 1 year after graduation? First option is 1.2%, second option 0.6%, third less than 0.1%, or 2.4%. Would you please raise your hands for option A? Do you think it's 1.2%? Okay. For option B, who think it's 0.6%? Okay. Who think it's less than 0.1%? And who think it's 2.4%? Okay. Most of you gave the right answer. It's 0.6%. So this year, the graduates from 2018 who decided to go for PhD are 0.6%. There's been a slight increase from past year where it was 0.4%, but more or less these are the numbers. But another interesting number is about the Nobel Prize winner in physiology or medicine, which according to the New York Times is 37% of the Nobel Prize winners is in physiology or medicine are physician scientists. And also the ones which won the Nobel Prize this year are actually physician scientists. You can see 3 Dr. Semenza, Radcliffe, and Kellin, which have been winning the prize on the hypoxia topic, which I can tell I'm really happy of that because I'm also working on the hypoxia field with Professor Samaya. So that can be a good motivation. Keep an eye on who wins and why and the reasons behind and the paths, because it can be helpful. This is how it might work, how it works, or how it worked for us. What happened to the 3 of us is we got interested, like most of you, during the MD program, we got interested in research. So we started doing some research during our MD path. After graduation, what happened to me and Clara is that we decided to go for PhD. Thanks to a program which we applied before, we had the chance of getting directly to the second year of PhD, But we had to go through the regular selection to get the PhD. But then we entered in the second year. So now I am at the end of my second year and starting the third. And Clara is at the end of her third year. What happened to Stefano, you will hear from him later. He is the youngest among the three of us. The other chance you can have is going for residency afterwards. And after the last year of residency, on the last year of residency, as the law now allows you to apply for a PhD and do a combined pattern, which will give you to the second and third year. That's another option at the moment. I would like now to talk about the situation in Europe, because we had the chance during our path to get in touch with the European MD-PhD Association, also known as EMPA, which has the main aim of connecting and representing physician scientists across the whole Europe. You can see from the map that we have representative in all those yellow countries, and we are working on getting more and more representatives all around Europe. And thanks to those representatives, we are trying to make some kind of, to have an idea on how it works in other countries. For example, in England, in France, and in Switzerland, there are national MD-PhD associations. In others, there are some programs which are starting, and we would like to know and improve our how the path is, thanks to also the experience from the other countries. For example, in Italy, we are trying to collect some experiences from other programs. And now I will be quite fast on this slide, because we will have more focused presentation on the 18th of November, where you guys are all invited for the Giornata del Medico Ricercatore in UNIME. And through that, we would like to improve the idea we have on the main paths you can have, and in the afternoon also on the situation in Europe and on the situation in Italy. Also, another thing that European MD-PhD Association does is organizing conferences. One is very close now. It will be on the 24th of October, 24th, 25th of October. But there will be one every year. It's a very nice environment for your first international presentation too. If you would like, this year it might be still late, but I hope anyway, the idea is spreading. Maybe next year, in the next years, it's a very good situation, friendly situation where you can expose your research and your path as MDs who are into research. For me, it's been my first conference where I had the chance of, international conference where I had the chance to expose my research. I conclude my part with a little bit of addresses you can refer to. Of course, check on the website, on the EMPA website and on the Facebook page, and you can write us for the email for any information. There is Clara Volpe is part of the executive board of EMPA. I am an Italian representative, so you can refer to us directly about European MD-PhD Association. Now I leave the microphone to Clara Volpe.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. I'm Clara Volpe. I'm actually a MD PhD student of the doctorate school of Medicina Molecolare e Traslazionale of Università degli Studi di Milano. And I'm actually, well, this is a doctorate school that's opened to graduated students both from the biology field and also for medical graduated. And I'm actually the second MD PhD student of this doctorate school, because as Sara told you before, MD PhD programs like Virgilio are quite new. In Milan, Virgilio is actually the second MD PhD program. We took part to the first one. And Sara and I, we are the two out of the 4 students that actually arrived until the very end of the MD PhD program. A lot of people, less than you, studied like 20 students per year, but then just 4 students in 5 years arrived until the end and study a PhD. Well, right now my MD PhD is in Istituto Oxologico Italiano. It is a research institute that is linked to the university, and my field of research is neurodegeneration. As I told you, now I am at the end of the second year of PhD. That for me it was it is the last one, so it should be the third one, because of the MD PhD program. The last version of Virgilio, let's say, gave us access to the second year as Sara, of PhD, as Sara explained before. And so I entered this PhD program, and so a project, I studied a project at the second year. So I had 2 years to come till the very end of the PhD. You would say, I'm attending the Virgilio program, and but then my 60 credits are for nothing. Okay, guys, I did it, a PhD, in 2 years. And if I would come back, I would do it in 3 years, because 2 years it's not enough. Well, I did everything that I could, and I'm happy with my results, with my data. But well, what I would prefer for new students like you would be a whole PhD, a true PhD, let's say, because abroad PhD lasts more than 3 years. Okay, so faster is not better. And so now, even because now I'm at the end of my 8th year, and I'm studying to enter the residency. You need 1 year to enter to study for that test, because this is a national test, you know. So actually, what I'm doing it in 3 years. Even if my PhD was 2 years long, I added one year, that is postdoc, but postdoc is not paid by the university. It's my lab that's paying me, paying my salary for this year. And so it would be maybe better to get a 3-year PhD. I hope you are convinced. Well, to make a PhD before residency could be also very useful, because as you can see from this color code, during residency, if you have a PhD and so you are quite independent in your research, even if you are not really independent yet, you can combine clinics and research. So I will move on. So 2 words about my PhD project. I'm studying ALS from a molecular point of view. In ALS, that is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, the 19% of cases are sporadic. That means that they are the first case in their family. While in the 10% of cases, they are grouped in families. So they are known to be genetically determined. And what I'm studying, that maybe it's so mysterious now, it's for you, I mean, it's the epigenetic regulation of a gene expression of a gene promoter of a causative gene that is a mutation of an hexanucleotide repeat expansion. What? Okay, these are the hard. This is the hard part of research. It's like you have to put all your brain or your free time in learning skills to move in research and in order then to become independent in research. And but also during a PhD, you will learn more soft skills that are also how to present your data, how to write a paper, how to behave during a lab meeting, and then you have to write. This thesis, and also you have to teach new students your work. So I'm explaining you more or less what you are expected to face in some years. Well, another part of my PhD was EMPA, that you already know everything about it. What's important with EMPA, what we learned with EMPA is that another soft skill of research is networking. Guys, you cannot do research alone in a lab, okay? You need to move, you need to know people, you need to take trains, planes, boats, and you need to face with a new schedule. Research is not just like, oh yes, I finished my ambulatory, I go to the lab. No. Okay, as you know, because I know that you are practicing a lot. Well, and I also learned how to manage social media and IT stuff because I'm the social media manager and IT manager. Well, I want to. Do I have time? Oh, okay. That's your 10 minutes. Okay, so I wanted just to, I'll just read these tips for you. Then if you want, just ask Sara and ask me whatever. Okay, first tip. Think broad, because a physician scientist is not a linear path. Okay, every time is different. And that could be mysterious, but it's important, very important. You will learn it. Then go abroad, of course. This should be the first one. And then feel free to try something, a topic that you're interested in, because you can change, guys. You can make a whole PhD on a topic and then change, because what's important you learn is the method, okay? In brief. And then look for mentors, take the advice from them, because you are young and they already know a lot of things more than you. And then make your own network, and please don't be shy, because, for example, my English is not so good, but I'm here. I hope I explained you something and I gave you some very precious information. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. Sorry. Okay. So, welcome everybody. My name is Stefano. Unlike Clara and Sara, I am not. I'm not a doctor yet. I am a sixth-year medical student. I'm here basically because I have been invited by them. But the reason is that as all of you, I have. I'm here because I think I can understand your motivation to enter this path. And so in this brief talk, I would like to share with you my more than, not just technical tips or anything like that, because I am not, I'm just a student, so I cannot be a mentor in that sense. I just would like to share with you my impressions, my emotions. And I hope that somehow, with the hope that somehow they may turn out useful in the future, in case you would like to enter this shadow forest. Well, the name of this program is Virgil, and of course, everybody thinks, of course, about the Divine Comedy. Well, I think the reason is pretty straightforward. Actually, according to my experience, all the things you'll read in these few minutes will be just my experience. Take it as it is. I actually found myself within a shadow forest. I come from I've studied in São Paulo Medical School, which is one of the 4 medical schools. By the way, I hope that is the right image of International Medical School. I couldn't find, okay, fine. So yeah, all 3 of us actually come from São Paulo Medical School. There must be something that hospital. Anyway, yes, and well, when I entered medical school, I entered medical school with the precise intention of doing somehow research. I didn't know what actually mean being a researcher, and for that matter, neither what actually mean being a doctor. And well, actually, of course, at that time, I've heard, of course, about the MD PhD program. But yeah, I am a very lucky man. In my whole life, I've been a lucky man. That year was the last year MD PhD program was available. So I asked, can I was interested in joining this program, but it was too late. So, but anyway, in my cast, I had Professor Michele Samaglia, is there, biochemistry professor, and I remember the time we met, he told me, brace yourself, because being a physician scientist is an excellent path. I, of course, was pretty, worried about that, but actually he was right in a sense that, as I will show you, joining this path will mean, if you join this path, you will have to face some perils. I'll show you all the danger places you have to face. Anyway, in I was sadly, I was like, okay, how can I access to research and start this path? During the second semester of the second year, I met my mentors, the professor that now are my mentors, general professors, the general pathology professor Piero Di Fiole and Salvatore Pece, and it was love at first sight. So I understand, okay, this is what I was looking for. So serendipitously, I found my way. And anyway, I didn't immediately decide to join this program, this path, because I wanted to wait another year to get experience with residencies. Anyway, in November 2016, I started my experience in the Istituto Europeo di Oncologia in Milan, in the laboratories, and to me it was a completely, incredible experience. I would like to share with you all the perils that I found in my short experience, just because, to warning you, and in case you would like to join this program, if you will face this, it's not intended to scare you. It's just like, okay, if you find these perils these difficulties during your voyage, it's okay, keep on going on. As medical student, we are not, traditional medical students, let's say, we are not taught to use techniques, laboratory techniques. There is a a certain knowledge gap between the biochemistry, genetics, and so on that we learn in medical school and the knowledge needed in the lab. The manuality, the ability with hands, being able to use your hand for doing research is not something that gets automatically, it takes time. The schedule, it's very important to precisely, since you are joining an hybrid path, you'll have to face the problem of, and which is linked to the other point, to set your schedule in an effective way. This is not easy. It takes time. It may scare you at first, but go on. Keep on with your path. Joining times of research and times of clinics. It may sound strange to some of you, but times of research are very long terms. The end of experiment come in months, even more sometimes. So you have to cope with this fact. And of course, the plan of the future. What comes after? Is there any career projection after MD PhD program? Because yes, what we have to face is that hybridization may led us to think that we are losing ourselves. It happened to me last year. I was like, okay, I started this program. I am not a researcher. I'm not a physician. Who am I? I am a chimera. Yeah, it's something that happened to me. I hope it won't happen to you. But what I would like to share, the only thing I would like to share is, if it happens, moving on. Because at your question, is it worth the effort? Well, during these years, I gave myself this little answer. I will explain because it's pretty cryptic. I see. I don't know if you know this. This painting is by Paul Gauguin. I am more into Van Gogh, but okay, this is a good painting. And why I found this as an answer to my troubles. It's not in the, I mean, it's not that I found many naked girls around me in the lab, unfortunately, it's more in the title. The title, from French, is made of by 3 questions, which are probably the most important question we as human beings face during our lives and as scientists face in our career. Where do we come from, who are we, and where are we going? My idea, this is only my humble idea, is that joining the, I mean, physician scientist aim, to me, my opinion, is that he can see the human being as a whole. I mean, from a cellular point of view, from basic research, from DNA, proteins, and everything you want, to bedside, to his affliction, to his existential problem, those are part of the, clinical experience, but in some way, if you join those to your career, my hope for the future is to be able to deal with, with a human being as a whole, not only his pathology, not only he as a human being as a whole. Thank you for the attention. I hope.
Okay, before we open up for discussion, as I said, there's a small add-on on the program. And it comes from this. 2 days ago, I believe, I got an email from Richa, who was forwarding to me an email coming from one of you, who was saying, I took the decision to drop out. So I will leave the program, sorry. And I was, of course, sorry about that. But then 2 things came to my mind, actually 3 things came to my mind. The first one was I read the email, and I found it very well written and very insightful in the reasons for that. The second thing is that I interviewed most of you, many of you, of course, during the selections. And about half of you all of you answered the question, why are we going to enter the program? Because I want to do research. Have you got any idea of what it is? No, I don't. So it doesn't make much of a sense. So having found yourself facing the question, what am I actually looking for in this program, I think is a fundamental question of the program itself. And of course, if there is a path and the program is supposed to guide you along the path, one option is that you go all along through, as people here are doing, or you can take the decision to make a different choice. So from this point of view, I did see then this decision as a positive outcome of the project rather than as a negative. I mean, for this specific student, the program did make the job was meant to, was an option to better understand his positioning towards this question and take a, let's say, a rational decision rather than simply a emotional one. And I thought, of course, that this must be distributed to all the other students because, well, we heard just now that 20 people get in and just 4 get out, so I hope we're gonna do better this time, and I'm pretty much sure we will. But in case you find yourself not in the right place, think about what you're doing and eventually take the decision not to go on and stop, of course. Now, because this was well rationalized by Alessandro, I took the freedom to ask Alessandro to come here and tell us what was reasons for that decision. And I would say he bravely accepted that. So I thank him personally for accepting this. So Alessandro, please come in.
Hi everyone. I will be brief as I didn't prepare any speech, but I would like to share with you my experience. And I had a laboratory rotation in the endocrine and metabolic research laboratory in the Oxologico, and I could see how the biologists and the MD PhD who followed me used to do their research projects, how the laboratory work is done. And one of the phrases I remember from my tutors, and maybe it's it's so common in the laboratory field, is that they told me that sometimes experiments are better to be failed than to be successful at the first time, as you can realize what you made wrong. And I think that this program was a great opportunity to me to understand how the research field works, because in the normal university path they never tell us. So I could understand what happened in the laboratory field, and I could deeply think about that in my future. And what I could realize is that maybe this time, at the very moment, I should find my way before in the clinical identity, and then maybe I could evaluate in the future the possibility to obtain an MD PhD or to dedicate myself into the research field. But I could understand that right now I just need to find my own identity and my own path in the clinical side, and maybe then I could evaluate also the possibility to have the research opportunity, as I really believe that it is an astonishing field where you could understand a lot more behind the mechanism of the different pathologies. And I hope you can understand something about yourself too in your experiences, as I could. And thank you.
Okay, we have 5 minutes, not much time, but we can make good use of this. So please, questions. Come on, don't be shy, right? Go on. Is it you? Go on. Yeah.
If you need this kind of information, we can help you and advise you. While being part of the executive board, I can tell you that there is a proposal. We are okay. We are evaluating and writing because it's quite big. I don't know if you know SISM and you know how big is the machinery behind the internships of SISM. We are evaluating and we are writing how to do it also in EMPA. And thank you for your question because you gave me the possibility to tell you.
Why did you choose the PhD path before starting, let's say, cardiology, endocrinology, or right? Good question.
Should I answer? To me or okay? Well, basically, because I love brain, I love synapses, I love this kind of. I already know my field, okay, but as you say, I could choose before residency. But I think that if you want to be involved in basic research, and it's not just basic, but it's a pathology, but molecular pathology, I think that you must stay in your field and with the most broad knowledge on your field for the most time as possible. As I mean, if I would do the PhD later, I would have lost 5 years, 4 years of being with my knowledge in the field. Do you mean? Do you understand? It's like if I would be a clinical researcher, I would start with residency, but I'm in basics, and so I want to face problems, genetics of patients, with my PhD done, with my knowledge complete, let's say.
Go on.
But maybe while you're doing your residency, you find something that you really want to understand better, and then you can do a PhD focus on what from the clinic you understand. I don't know. It's just an idea.
So you're saying if you know better the discipline you're in, then the research questions become more clear.
I would like to answer to you. I mean, I don't know if they agree with me, but what this experience taught me is more than just. I mean, I personally think that more than just the topic itself is the method which is important. Clinics and basic research are pretty similar in some ways, but the methods are pretty different. So my advice is, okay, if you already know She Loves Brain like a zombie, but if you already know your passion, your favorite topic, then go, okay, you can of course join it. If you're interested more into the methods of research, then maybe you don't really, this is also the reason for rotations in labs. You don't really need to focus on one topic in this time of your career, because you are building your abilities, your knowledge and everything. Then if you're interested in the idea of doing research, then this may help. You enter in contact with the methods, with, of course, techniques and so on. And so in that light, if you see it in that light, you don't really need necessarily a previous interest. You can gain this interest as time goes by, as your experience increase. Did I answer to your question? Okay.
And actually, you could neither see the problem if you don't have a method on your shoulders, you know.
Let's say you don't have already consolidated your clinical knowledge, don't you risk to, in order to dedicate 100% to your PhD research project, don't you risk to lose a bit your clinical, say, freshness from the school?
Yes.
I've had the same doubt as you when I applied for PhD. I was scared of staying away from the clinics. But if you start a PhD with the medical knowledge and you are in a lab which allows you to communicate and to have to get in contact with medical doctors too, you can end up being some kind of bridge between the basic science and the clinical patients. I collect blood from the patients. So for me, I do some chemistry and I have some clinical parts. It's not like directly on the patient, but you can use both. That's what really I like most. So it depends, of course, on what you're interested to. There's not one right path. That is your choice. But if you're in a good environment, you can use both skills and strengthen both of them.
If I make a comment on that, which is not an answer, just an information. On this meeting on the November 18th, they will actually overview the general organization of MD, PhD programs around Europe. And if you have a look at that, you'll see that there are some which are actually MD, PhD residency, some others are MD, residency, PhD, some others are MD, a mix of something and something in the middle. So there are different formats for that, which are probably due to the fact that depending on the approach the candidate has, one path is better than the other. So there is no, I believe, right or wrong. It's actually a matter of potentially having both. Other issues? No? Last chance? No, okay. So if not, thank to everybody. Thank Alessandro. Okay, so meantime we are dismantled the whole thing. I'll introduce Pietro.